if you've ran into some questions already, then let me know. But I just want to kind of hit some different things. The graphing ones, like for instance, number one, you can definitely just put that into your calculator. If you have a hard time deciding which one's which, just look for ordered pairs. Ordered pairs will tell you and how wide it opens up. Like for instance, these two have vertex at different places. Like part A has moved left, part B has moved up. Both of these have vertexes 0, 0, but one's a lot wider than the other. Okay, so each one's just a little bit different. You should be able to look at your calculator, look at the graph. That would be the easiest way to do something like that, is use your calculator. Number 2 is the same way. Number 3 is the same way. On number 4, we talked about how to find the vertex and the axis of symmetry, especially if it's in this form right here. 2 things. First of all, the vertex is always going to be based off of these 2 numbers right here. This tells me how wide it opens and if it opens up or down. But if it's x plus 2, what direction is that going to shift it? Left 2, okay? It's always going to be opposite of the inside. So this is positive 2, it goes left 2, and if it's minus 2 at the end, it tells us it's going to go down 2. So my vertex would be at negative 2, negative 2. That's the first part. The axis of symmetry is always going to be x equals the x value. And my x value is negative 2. So it's going to be x equals negative 2. So just really be careful about the direction that you're moving, because the direction will tell you what your vertex is. Left 2, down 2. From 0, 0. 0, 0 is like our original starting point for anything. Okay, 5's kind of similar. On number 6, you could put that one into your calculator, but it might be hard to find the vertex because the vertex is a little bit bigger number than normal. So what we talked about here was a little trick. And I know it's been a while since you've seen that. The axis of symmetry is x equals negative b over 2a. I'll show you a little trick here as well. If I covered up the discriminant part of the quadratic formula, it's negative b over 2a. Okay? So it's this part right here on the quadratic formula. That's kind of a little trick you can remember. I will leave the quadratic formula on the board for you tomorrow. You just need to know how to use it. So on this one, my a value, my b value, and my c value. So we're going to go x equals negative 28 over 2 times negative 2. So negative 28 over negative 4 is 7. So x equals 7 is my axis of symmetry. And we only have one answer that has that, which is B. If I had to find my vertex, I would take 7, I would plug it into this equation and see what my y value is. Okay, so just plug 7 in for x. So that's how you would get the y value in that case. But because we only have one answer that has the right axis of symmetry, then it makes it a little bit easier. So if you can remember that formula, I should make that problem a little bit easier. 7's another graphing problem. When solving quadratic equations, the one thing you always got to remember is always set them equal to 0. It's got to be my first step. Always set equal to 0 first. So on this one here, I'm going to add 10. It gets me here. So x squared plus 7x plus 10 equals 0. And probably the best way to solve this one, you could do the quadratic formula if you really want to, but just factoring it would be pretty easy. What multiplies to get 10 and adds to get 7 would be 2 and 5. So we get x equals -2, x equals -5. And remember, your solutions are the same place where your graph's going to cross the x-axis. And so that would be another way you can find solutions as well. Okay, 9's another product and sum one. It's already set equal to 0. 10 is a slide and divide factoring one. So you probably have to slide and divide on that one, or do the quadratic formula if you want to. Okay, 11. We didn't talk about solve using tables. When they say solve using tables, you're just trying to use tables to kind of estimate about where they cross. We talked about finding the exact value. So let's just put that one into our calculator real quick here. 6x squared plus 4x minus 5. Make sure it's set equal to 0, which it is. So don't worry about the tables part of it. Just use your calculator. Solve by using your calculator and finding out where it crosses the x-axis. We're looking for x-intercepts. Okay, another graphing one on number 12. We got a lot of graphing ones here. Number 13, this is one of those where when we're looking for the solution, we want an exact solution. This is one where you wouldn't necessarily set it equal to 0 because we're going to use what we call the square root method. We're going to get x by itself. So my first step, divide by 3. So I get x squared equals 2. Okay, and then we're going to take the square root of both sides. And so what would my answer be here? What do you guys think? Do what? Does square root of 2 equal 1? Nope. Okay. And we want our answer here as an exact answer. Okay. So we're just going to leave it as radical 2, but what else do I have to do to my answer here? Plus or minus. Okay. So we're going to say plus or minus the square root of 2. Okay. And I do want you to leave your answer as a radical in that case rather than a decimal. Okay. This is the only one that you have to do the quadratic formula on. Mainly because you can't factor it, you can't do anything else, and you're going to have to put it in quadratic formula. So you'll have at least one where you have to do the quadratic formula on it. Okay, and the quadratic formula is on the board over there. You might want to write it down if you don't remember it. Okay, 16, 17, and 18 are all the same problem. The discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. It's the part of the quadratic formula that's under the radical. Okay, so you don't have to do the entire formula. And what we're doing here is we're not solving it. We're saying how many and what type of solutions are we going to have. Okay, so let's do one of these together here. Let's do number 17, just because the first thing you want to do here is just like when you solve an equation, you always want to set it equal to 0. So the first thing I'm going to do here is add 12x, and we want to put it in standard form. All right, and this is my A, my B, and my C value. And we're just going to put it into the b squared minus 4ac. So we're going to go 12 squared minus 4 times 9 times 4. Which is 0, okay? If I get 0, If I get a positive number, I have two real solutions. If I equal 0, I have one real solution. And if I get a negative number, you get two imaginary solutions. Which are not real. Yeah. Did I do something wrong?
I don't know. I think I'm lost. Isn't the second answer under C supposed to be 144?
Oh, yeah. Why did I think I said 144, but I did not write 144. Thank you.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
that's right.
Sorry. Yep. Okay, which is 0, and that would be one solution. Okay? So if you get a negative, you get two imaginary, which are no real solutions. And so here's what I will tell you about problems like this. It'll never be the cannot determine solution. Okay? There's only three different solutions. You get two real, you get one real, or no real is the two imaginary solutions. We identified it as two imaginary here. That's not a real solution, so that's how they identify that here. Okay, and then the last two problems here, 19 and 20, you're going to write it as an I. We talked a little bit about this at the very beginning of the chapter. Let's do the harder one of the two. Okay, and I showed you a couple different ways that you could do this. You could do the tree, right, where you break it down. I like to break it up into perfect squares. Find a perfect square that goes into 63. So I did 9 times 7. I wouldn't want to do like 3 and 21. 3 times 21 gives me 63, but neither one of those are a perfect square. So I want to find a number that's a perfect square that goes into 63. This is going to come out. This is going to come out. So the square root of 9 is 3. The square root of negative 1 is I. And then the 7 stays inside. And that would be our answer. Okay. Any questions so far? Or anything else that you guys ran into that you have questions on? All right, John?
Wait, is this the formula for number 15? I forget whether or not.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Why is it not plus or minus?
Because we're not solving an equation. If we were solving an equation, it would be plus or minus. Good question. Okay.